අපට කියන්න තිබෙන්නේ විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ කිසිම දේශපාලන පක්ෂයක් ව්‍යවස්ථාවක් හදලා ෆෝමැට් එකක් ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නේ පොරොන්දුවක් විතරයි. වාක්‍යයක් හෝ දෙකකින් කියනවා මේක කරනවා කියලා. දැන් අත් වශයෙන්ම ඔවුන් ඉදිරිපත් කරන 13 ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධනයේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ සම්මත වුණත් ඒකට ශක්තියක් නැහැ. ඇතුලේ අර්ථගත බලය බැලුවාම සම්පූර්ණ ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ, ඒ කියන්නේ ජනාධිපතිතුමා කියන තනතුරෙන් ආවරණය වෙලා තිබෙන බලය නිසා ඒවා යටපත් වෙලා තිබෙන්නේ. ඒ නිසා දේශපාලන පක්ෂ ඡන්දේ ඉල්ලන්න පාරට බහිනකොට ඔවුන්ගේ යුතුයකම ජනතාවට කියන්නේ මේකයි අපේ ක්‍රමවේදය, මෙයයි සාකච්ඡා කළ යුතු, මෙයයි විවාදයට ගත යුතු කියලා. අනිත් එක පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට තෝරන්නේ කවුද? මේ විශේෂ කරන දන්න කෙනෙක්ද? කිසිම දෙයක් දන්නේ නැතුව ඉඳලා හිටලා අතක් පුතල ආයි කියන අය. ඉතින් මේකද අපේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුව අප දකින්න යථාර්ථය. මෙන්න මේ යථාර්ථයෙන් එහාට යන්න ජනතා සංවාදයේ නිවැරදිව යන්න ඕන, රවට්ටන්නේ නැතුව. ඒක තමයි අපේ ආරාධනය.
So he's basically repeating the question, and what I would say is that he's right. I mean, you just can't rely on the politicians only. And he's saying the politicians don't know what a constitution is. The people who are elected to parliament don't read books. Now, that is a major problem here. Because if you want to enter parliament today, you have to have at least 50 million rupees and 50 tongues. And therefore, in that kind of climate, the people who have the brain power don't particularly like to go in there anymore, unfortunately. But I think though that's an issue that can be taken up, is that when people are being nominated as MPs, there has to be a certain criteria for being an MP. You have to show whether you have been convicted of a crime. That's number one. Two, you have to have some other criteria. We know that, for example, those criteria exist. What kind of person can go into parliament? That criteria has to be evolved. So finally, what I would say is that it will depend on the vigilance of the people. And I would say that both at the provincial council level, as well as the municipal council level, and at the local council level, those people must all form themselves into a powerful movement for constitutional change. Don't just rely on parliament. Thank you.
Yes, I had...
Can you accommodate one more question from Oliville?
Okay, so
I'll... a question from Colombo here.
Yes, well, one question and then I'll give it back to you. My original question was about expanding on the role of the diaspora. As a Canadian, I was very interested in what you had to say about that. But after hearing all of this, I also wanted to ask you if you were optimistic about the future of the country.
See, the diaspora is very powerful when it comes to Sri Lanka. But diaspora communities are also very powerful, not only in Sri Lanka, Irish, many diasporas. That's right. And why are diasporas powerful? It's because there is a particular gentleman whom I really liked his book. It's called Benedict Anderson, The Imagined Community. And now in that book, what he is saying is that after the print revolution in the past, during the period of Martin Luther, in the print revolution, the monopoly of the priest was broken, because the priest before that used to say everything in Latin. Even today, you know, in this country, monks say everything in Sanskrit or Pali. By breaking the monopoly of the language to a common language was the beginning of the spread of equality and knowledge and communication. Now today, diasporic communities are an imagined community because they may live in Canada, they may live in the United States or anywhere, but they still live in the country that they came from. They have memories, links, bonds, so many things which bind them together. And sometimes they are more, if you like, extreme in their views compared to people in their own country. Therefore, the LTT, for example, saw the diaspora as a major asset. I think they must have collected large sums of money from the diaspora, taxation from the diaspora, a whole lot of things. If you go to London, they will have their own schools, all kinds of things in which the identity of them as a community is retained and maintained. The Chinese diaspora is one of the most powerful. That is overseas Chinese. They have their own network, their own internet, their own radio stations, television stations, etc. So diasporic communities are powerful. And therefore, one has to find ways of talking and working with that community. And I would say to the American Center that should be one of the key projects is how to get this dialogue started with the American cities where Sri Lankans live. Now, when it comes to the diaspora, at the moment, I think we have not really been able to establish that dialogue, because in many cases, particularly in Canada, our officials in the embassies really don't know how to even start the conversation. This is a major problem. We have to have cultural attaches, not military attaches, who are able to have that dialogue. And so I think this is a long road, but all diasporic communities need to link up to their own country. And this is one of the reasons why we, in a small way, in the Sahajimana Center, has this photographic exhibition of the history of Sri Lanka's conflict. We have about 550, 600 photographs. So when you go through that, then you begin to realize the folly of humans against each other. We published a book called Paradise in Tears. We made a film again about the entire history, so that you may remember in America there was a movement of the black people called Roots. They all wanted to find their roots in Africa. So many went to Africa. A lot of books became popular about Africa, etc. So I think in a global situation we live in, I think this is something that we take seriously. And I think that we need to find the ways of doing that. Are you optimistic? Yes. If you are not optimistic, I would also join the diaspora. Okay.